Hi everyone. So for this video, we're going to be focusing on corresponding angles. And the theory is corresponding angles are equal. Corresponding angles are equal. I'm going to be explaining what corresponding angles means, how to identify them, and many more. Okay? The good advantage of this one is that for those people who are a little bit skittish about trying to carry out calculations, this makes things a lot easy for you. Corresponding angles don't really involve any sort of calculation for the most part. You don't really have to calculate anything. You just need to know how to identify the areas of the diagram that is corresponding, and you simply equate. That's all. You don't really need any sort of calculation for this. The only time that you might need a calculation is if the question is in combination with other theories. So let's say there's sum of angles on sum of angles at a point, sum of angles on a straight line, and many other ones. If those ones appear in the diagram, then you might need to do calculations for those ones. But once it gets to corresponding angles, you do not actually need calculation to solve that. So that's the good news for those that may be a little bit scared of mathematics. That's not a good way to live. You shouldn't be scared of mathematics. You just need to understand the principle and you will get it. So let's get down to business. So for the very first one, let's say if you are going to be given corresponding angles, you will always see parallel lines involved. Parallel lines. Please take note of that. Parallel lines are always going to be involved when you're dealing with corresponding angles. Parallel lines could be 2 parallel lines, 3 parallel lines, does not matter, but you would definitely have at least 2 parallel lines if you are dealing with what? Corresponding angles. Okay? And what is a parallel line? Parallel line simply means 2 lines or more that will never meet. 2 lines or more that no matter how much you stretch those lines, no matter how much you extend them, you can extend them indefinitely. On the Cartesian coordinates, you can extend them indefinitely. Don't worry about what Cartesian is. You can extend them extensively, and they will never touch each other. So 2 lines, they might just be 1 centimeter apart. It does not matter, 1 centimeter apart. Keep extending them, they will never cross each other, which means they are parallel. That's what it means. And there is a signature or there's a sign for noting them. Okay. So let's say here we have one line here. It goes like this. Just assume this line is straight. Okay. That's the first line. The second line is over here. Okay. So we have 2 lines. Now, if on this line you see a signal like this, something like this, it could be just 1, it could be 2. And you see the same thing here also. It means these 2 lines are parallel. So you don't need to start measuring anything and seeing whether they are equidistant from each other. That is, the distance from here to here is the same with this here. You don't have to. Once you see this in any of your geometric textbooks or sums or classworks, whatever, you see this here on 2 lines, just know the 2 lines are parallel. Okay. Now, after that, then there is usually a transversal involved, like a dividing line going through the 2 of them. So let's say you have a dividing line going through like this. 2 parallel lines going parallel to each other, of course. And then there is a third line, transversal, cutting the 2 of them. This line is a straight line, cutting these. It continues, and cuts this also. These are the signatures of corresponding angles. So now, how do you know which angles are corresponding? How do you know that? Let's do a little bit of labeling for this diagram. So let's say here we have A for this angle. The angle here is B, here is C, and the last one here is D. No problem. Looking good, right? Now, the next one we have gotten to D. Okay, we have E here, F here, G here, and here we have H. So we have 8 different angles. Now, how do you know which angles are corresponding to each other? Okay, corresponding angles, the way it works is this. One angle on one parallel line is going to be corresponding to another angle on the second parallel line. So one angle about this parallel line, you see, this is the first parallel line, second parallel line. So A is an angle on this first parallel line. It should be corresponding to one other angle on this second parallel line. So what angle is it going to be corresponding to? The angle that looks exactly like it, the angle that is exactly at the same position as itself, corresponding, similar, okay? Or that's they are at the same position, basically. So now, if you have A here, A is where? It's on the top of the parallel line towards the right. Just pay attention to that. A is on the top of the parallel line towards the right. So top right is over here. Now come on here to this place. Where is the top right for this second parallel line? This is the top right. Top is on the top. Of course, these ones are at the bottom. So this is on the top and it's on the right. So A is corresponding to E. So definitely without doing any sort of calculation, you can simply just say A equals to what? E. What? Corresponding angles. So you can just say corresponding angles. You continue. The next one, B is bottom right. It's at the bottom right for the first parallel line. Which angle is at the bottom right for the second parallel line? That is F. The bottom, right. That's F. So B and F are corresponding. So you go B equals to what? F. The same reason. So corresponding angles. The next, we move here. D is on the left and at the top. So for the first parallel line, top left, that's where D is. So where is the angle on the top left of the second parallel line? That is going to be H. So top left of the first parallel line, top left of the second parallel line. They are corresponding, D and H. The positions are basically the same thing. Okay, so now we have what? D equals to what? H. The same reason. Corresponding angles. We continue. No problem. C is at the bottom left. It's on the left side, but it's at the what? Bottom. It's not at the top. Okay. The bottom left is also G for the second parallel line. So C and G are going to be what? Corresponding angles, which means they're equal. Whatever the angle here is, this angle here must be that. So which means we have C equals to what? To G. So the same reason, so corresponding angles. So now let's try to have an example. So example, so let's have an example for that. So let's say we have two parallel lines. The very first parallel line goes this way. The second one comes this way, of course. So you have the sign telling you it's a parallel line. Okay. So no problem. So we continue. So we proceed. Then we have our what? We have our transversal cutting through. No problem. So now for here, let's say this angle here is called 150 degrees. And this angle here is called A. Okay, let's continue. After that, you have for this one, the angle here is called, let's say it's called 30 degrees. And this angle here is called what? B. All right. Now, what do we do? And they say what? Find A and B. That's the question. Find A and B. You don't need to stress yourself, all right? It's very easy. Just use the same principle we got here, okay? B, where is A? A is where? Is what? Top right corner. It's on the top. I mean, for the second parallel line, it's on the top and it's on the right. Which angle is on the top and is on the right on the first parallel line? Okay, 150 is on the top. Okay, you see on the right is on the right. So which means 150 degrees and A are corresponding angles to each other. Easy peasy, no problem. Okay, which means A is going to be equal to what? 150 degrees. Perfect. So corresponding angles. So corresponding angles. Perfect. What do we do about B? B is where? It's on the bottom and it's on the right. Bottom right. Where is the bottom right for the first parallel line? Is 30 degrees. So B and 30 degrees are corresponding angles. They are definitely going to be equal to each other. So definitely B is going to be equal to what? Is going to be equal to 30 degrees. All right. So we have the same reason corresponding. So corresponding angles. And that is all. See, you've solved for two different angles just now without having to do a single addition or subtraction or multiplication. That's why I told you at the beginning, corresponding angles, if that's all you are doing, there are no attached questions to it. You don't actually need any sort of calculation. You just need to be able to identify the pattern. You need to be able to identify how to spot corresponding angles. That's all you have to deal with. So thank you very much for the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel again and share with your friends. Like the video, and we'll be seeing you in the next one. The next one is going to be alternate angles. Alternate angles also going to involve parallel lines and transversals, but the principle for that is slightly different. So thank you very much and bye.